Bring the whole family to WNEP Spring Fair.
Everybody, Newswatch 16 update is continuing with our election return coverage of the Pennsylvania primary 1984. Nolan?
And at approximately 8:04 tonight, ABC News and WNEP projected that Senator Mondale was going to be the winner, Vice President Mondale, the winner in the Pennsylvania primary for the Democratic presidential primary. So let's find out about that right now as far as the actual raw vote totals are concerned. In the Democratic primary, with 64% of the vote in, Mondale now leads Gary Hart, 45% of that vote to 33%. So let's find out about how Jesse Jackson is coming out then across the state. Statewide, in the state of Pennsylvania, Jesse Jackson has 20% of that vote. And, of course, the other candidates are listed as you see them, but they are not coming up because they are just not that popular as far as the total raw vote is concerned, with 64% of the vote in at this time. We're going to find out a little bit more about what the two leading contenders had to say tonight in this very late report from ABC.
Something powerful is happening, and I can feel it. The feeling that's beginning to sweep across the country is that we need a change in Washington. And tonight, we've added the keystone to the foundation we're building to beat Ronald Reagan in November.
Tonight, we may not win in Pennsylvania, but we are going to win the nomination of this party, and we're going to win the presidency. We have won and we have lost, and I'll tell you something, it's more fun to win.
I'll be interested in seeing how they did in our counties in this area since both came to visit Northeast.
Yeah, of course. All those facts and figures will be coming out very soon, of course, Frank. And everybody takes a little vacation. I'm sure not the candidates, but the next one is a couple of weeks away,
yeah,
I understand. So they'll be watching these figures very closely as they come in tonight in Pennsylvania.
From planet Earth, we'll go to outer space, Nolan. We've got some other news tonight. The astronauts aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger will be waking up in less than an hour, and they will begin work on the Solar Max satellite. After sailing over the weekend, the astronauts were able to grab the satellite out of the sky today. Now, this is what it looked like as the shuttle closed in on Solar Max. When Challenger got within 35 feet, astronaut Terry Hart reached out, grabbed the satellite with the shuttle's huge arm. Hart, by the way, is a graduate of Lehigh University in Bethlehem. He'll be operating that huge arm again tomorrow as the astronauts try to repair Solar Max. If they're successful, the satellite will be put back in orbit on Thursday, and the shuttle will come home to planet Earth on Friday.
The Soviets are experimenting with a type of space shuttle, according to a new report put out by the Pentagon. That report on Soviet military power says, along with building weapons to fight here on Earth, the Soviet military has also tested an unmanned space shuttle. And the report shows sketches of a military space station the Soviets are said to be planning, and a Russian laser facility that may already have lasers big enough to destroy orbiting satellites. But critics say the report exaggerates the Soviet buildup and is just an attempt by the Pentagon to get more money from Congress.
The Senate tonight passed a resolution that says the United States should stop using its money to put mines in the harbor off the coast of Nicaragua. Now, it's a non-binding resolution passed even though CIA Director William Casey went to Capitol Hill today to defend U.S. involvement in Nicaragua. Casey also got a letter from Senator Barry Goldwater today. The letter strongly criticized the CIA for not letting the Senate know what's going on in Nicaragua. Goldwater called the mining of the harbor an act of international law, a violation. He said it may be an act of war.
And when we come back, we'll be updating some of the congressional races as our team coverage of the 84 vote continues.
And we'll also have the latest on the weather forecast. It was a good day for the candidates, and I'm sure they all thank you, Tom.
That's right. It was a terrific day to have an election weather-wise. Meet me in the backyard when we come back, and I'll tell you how much longer the good weather is going to last.
This wish is for my singing career.
And one for your sister who shot her husband.
And a wish for Mama for hanging herself.
Wilkes College Theater wishes you would join us for the area premiere of Beth Henley's Pulitzer Prize-winning comedy, Crimes of the Heart, Friday and Saturday, April 13th and 14th at 8 p.m. and Sunday, April 15th at 2 p.m. in the Center for the Performing Arts, Wilkes College. For reservations to the Smash Broadway comedy, call 829-9144.
Crimes of the Heart, April 13th, 14th, and 15th.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here with more election coverage. Weather's part of the election, I guess.
Yeah, I think it is. It's so nice to have Frank here. And, of course, we've been waiting, especially with Tom in the back here, we can now say, we've been waiting for Frank to say something about Noreen Clark and the weather. He hasn't said it, though. You haven't said it at all.
I'm used to the other Clark, but it's a family affair.
That's right.
Out to the backyard, Tom.
Frank, I'm glad you can see the difference. That's terrific. Hey, I want to tell you, it's a nice night outside tonight, just partly cloudy overhead, and if you get the urge to wash the car tomorrow, do it, because it looks like the dry weather is going to continue. Outside now, let's check the readings. I know you don't need to see any more numbers at this point, but we'll do this quickly. There you go. The temperature now is 41 degrees. The humidity is still quite low for this late hour. The wind north at 8, and the barometer is rising. The ranging temperature today, 55 and 29, and on this date back in 1924, it was a cold start with a temperature of 22 degrees. That shot there, evidence of a wind blowing tonight over there in Music with a half moon in the background. The Newswatch 16 color satellite picture coming up just in off the satellite, no more than 2 hours old. We have some clouds coming around the back edge of a storm system well off the coast of New England. It's kind of sitting there, and we'll see some of these clouds coming down from the north again tomorrow to dim the sun and block it out at times, but it will stay dry. A dry patch there to the west, that can't go anywhere because of the storm that stalled offshore, and to the south, more rain, which will stay to our south. It's heading out to sea. Baseball-sized hail in northeastern Texas this afternoon. You can see the thunderstorms down that way. That storm center will stay to our south. But out to the west, there is a third storm on the map tonight. Up in Stampede Pass, Washington, in the Cascade Mountains, the snowfall measurement tonight at 10 o'clock was 93 inches. And it's still snowing at 27 degrees up there in Stampede Pass. Storm system developing out that way, moving slowly to the east. I don't think it's going to bring us any rain before Sunday of next week. So we're going to stay in great shape as we head through the rest of this week. Now, here's the forecast for tomorrow morning. A dry start for your rush hour. It'll be cold with temperatures in the middle 30s in Halstead, West Pittston, Cunningham, Pottsville, and the low 30s out there in Lock Haven. A northerly wind in the morning, no big deal, only about 8 miles per hour, but dress warm. It's going to be a cold start. Now, for tomorrow, a mixture of sunshine and some clouds. In the northeast, more clouds than sun. In the west, quite a bit of sunshine tomorrow, but the day will stay dry once again. A northerly wind at 14 miles per hour. Wysock, 51, and an Elephant. Mount Pocono, the high tomorrow, 47 degrees. And we'd like to say hi and welcome to those now watching WNEP TV on Channel 23, courtesy of Salmons Communications, serving Easton and vicinity down there in Northampton County. Your high tomorrow in the middle 50s, in Sunbury and in Muncie as well. A good day coming up. The Health Watch reflecting the sunshine tomorrow. Again, a partly sunny day. Resistance to aches and pains average. Concentration looks pretty good. The air quite dry. Sunrise and sunset, those days getting longer now, 5:30. And look at that, it goes down now at 6:39. I'll have some daylight tomorrow night at 6 o'clock for sure. Cold tonight, 35. Partly sunny tomorrow, 51. A nice day on Thursday, still dry, some sunshine, mild with some sunshine on Friday, near 60. And for the opening day of trout season on Saturday, I see a dry day for now, cloudy. That favors good fishing. Temperatures in the 50s, and that'll be a lot better than what it was on the opening day last year when we had snow and temperatures near 40. So it's looking pretty good the next few days, and this dry spell of weather, Frank and Nolan, is just what the golf course needed.
Yeah, you know what I mean? We'll like you president tonight with a forecast.
Well, John, just might win with that. Geez. Okay.
Tom, I think I'll sleep in tomorrow. Say hello to Noreen.
Okay, we'll do.
You deserve it, friend.
Thank you. Still ahead, we're going to update some of the other races in tonight's primary election.
Plus, Joe Zone will be here with the story of tonight's hockey playoff. Stay with us.
Skycam 16 is everywhere.
Welcome back, back, everyone, to the primary election in Pennsylvania and Newswatch 16's coverage of the 84 voters. The night goes on. We've got lots more returns coming in.
Let's take a quick look at all the congressional races in our viewing area now tonight. We'll start with the 6th congressional district. The Democratic race there in the 6th district. It's no Republican candidate on the ballot. So in the Democratic race, an 8-term congressman is running for another term, Gus Yatsen from Reading, and he has 85% of the vote. He's comfortably in the lead with 55% of the vote in. Paul Clark has 14%, and then let's take a look at the next district, Frank.
Yeah, that 10th is kind of interesting in Lackawanna County because Joe McDade has been in for 12 terms, and he is a Republican. He's unopposed in the nomination. He's got 2 Democrats that are trying to challenge him, one of which will get to the party's nomination. We've got some vote totals right now in that 10th district. 23% of the vote in. Wanda Shirk has got 1,759. Gene Basiligan, 1,938 in the 10th congressional district for the Democratic nomination.
All right, let's take a look at the 11th. We're not exactly sure about these figures. Now, you see only 1% of the vote in this 11th district, and this is for the Republican side, but Robert Hudak was running away with it. He is acknowledged on the Republican side to be definitely the representative on the fall ballot. But over on the Democratic side, we'll take a look and see what that race is doing. That's, of course, the Harrison-Kanjorski race. Things did not look good tonight earlier for Frank Harrison, the incumbent in that race, and it still doesn't. We have 74% of the vote total in right now in the 11th district. Kanjorski now ahead 47% to 41%. You see the vote totals there, and it's getting just a little bit wider.
And he has not conceded yet, but we have crews standing by live, so if something does happen, we will have some comments from the candidates in Wilkes-Barre in that 11th district. Now, we also want to turn our attention to the 15th congressional district, that race for the Democratic nomination. 6 people looking for that in the 15th district. Only one candidate on the Republican slate. That's incumbent 3-term Congressman Don Ritter of Coopersburg. He will be running against one of these 6 people who will get the Democratic nod tonight. Now, let's take a look at the top vote getter, and that so far is Jane Wells Schooley, 10,000 votes. That's what 96% of the returns in. Gene Knopp has 5,600, 22%. He comes in second. Bernard Berg, 3,200 votes. Charles Buss has 2,100. And the last 2 vote getters in that 15th district looking for the Democratic nomination. Jack Smith, he's got 7% of the vote, and Dick Cusick with about 1,400 votes in the 15th district.
All right, let's go on to the 17th district right now. And in there, of course, George Gekas of Harrisburg, as we said earlier, was first sent to Congress back in 1982. He's the incumbent, and he's comfortably leading with only 22% of the vote in the 17th right now. To Lembenfeld's 11%. Gekas has 88% of the vote. And there are 2 candidates on the Democratic side in the 17th. So it's Sarah Flieger of Northumberland County against William Minnick. And it's a close race, only 22% of the vote in yet, so we can't say who's comfortably in the lead, but Flieger is ahead at this point. And at this point, for you sports fans, it's time for us to switch over to Joe Zone, just standing by and wanting to tell us about all those scores, especially hockey, I understand. Right, Joe?
Yeah, we got hockey. Take a rest. We'll get back to it. Have a donut or something. It's free tonight. Big night here. They opened the season on the road, the Phillies and the Yankees, but today they came home to big crowds and big wins. The Phillies got a strong game from John Denny and a 3-run homer from Mike Schmidt and a 3-1 win over Nolan Ryan and the Houston Astros. Schmidt's homer came in the bottom of the 8th when the Phillies were trailing 1-0. It was Denny's second win of the year. 52,000 showed up at Yankee Stadium today to see the Yankees beat the Twins 4-1. Willie Randolph, 2-run home in the 3rd, gave starter Phil Niekro all the runs he needed. Although Niekro did need relief help, he got it from Luis Rijo. And Dave Righetti here in the last line drive, double play to end the Twins threat. Niekro 2-0. Righetti saved 2 of the Yankees' 3 wins. Okay, American League scoreboard. Yankees 4, Minnesota 1, Detroit beat Texas 5-1. Elsewhere now. Baltimore got their first win of the year, 6-3. Ripken with 2 home runs. Chicago knocked off Cleveland. The final there, 7-3. Elsewhere, Minnesota, California, Boston, Seattle, Toronto, Oakland. Those games just underway. National League board, Phillies over Houston, 3-1. The Mets final is in. They won it 4-2. That's the final score. Elsewhere, Cincinnati beat Montreal 8-6. Pete Rose has 3,999 hits now. St. Louis leads San Diego 3-1 in the 4th. Pittsburgh, San Francisco, no score yet. Scranton and Kings got together this afternoon for a doubleheader at Scott Stadium in Dunmore. This was the only one of the game. Came in on an arrow, the Royals scoring. They won 1-0 and 2. They won the first game 10-8. The two hockey teams that hang out in New York, the Rangers and the Islanders, in a do-or-die fifth game of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Where do you see the story of this one? Islanders came out hot. Nystrom right here throws a punch, bang, and he gets a 5-minute penalty. Okay, now, the Rangers, Ron Gretzky skates in, takes a shot, scores, and it's 1-0 Rangers after the first period. In the second period now, just 11 seconds left. Mike Bossy beats goalie Hanlon, and that makes it 1-1. They're tied. Rangers outshot the Islanders 23-10, but it was still tied. In the third, Tomas Johnson scores 2-1. Look at a great save there. Hanlon with the big save, 2-1. There's the score right there. The Islanders go on top. Now look at this. It looks like Tonelli's going to make it 3-1. But now watch the save by Hanlon. Spectacular save. And then, with 39 seconds left in their season, the Rangers get a score from Maloney, and that sends it to the sudden death overtime period. Listen and watch. Out of the corner, Hanlon takes the save off him. Here's Morrow into the face-off. He scores! Kenny Moore! The Islanders will advance to the next round of the Stanley Cup playoffs as Morrow put it between the legs of Hanlon. The final score, the Islanders 3, the Rangers 2 in sudden death. Now let's check the scoreboard. Unbelievable game there. Rangers lose it 3-2. Minnesota over Chicago. The final there 4-1. Now let's go to the NBA board. Philadelphia knocked off by New Jersey 106-102. Boston 96, Milwaukee 95. More scores: Detroit 100, Indiana 98, Houston, San Antonio no score. Elsewhere now, L.A. Golden State 53-42. Now with 50% of the game in, I'm going to go out here, make a projection, and pick Los Angeles to win that very tight race tonight with 50% of the vote in. Elsewhere, Seattle over Kansas City 121-113. It's contagious sometimes. Now the Pocono Downs and the finish of the second race there. Let's take a look at that one.
Top of the stretch, Timmy Skipper left it off, coming on the outside, Motoring Abbey. Timmy Skipper, Motoring Abbey, along the rail, third, Meadow Abbey. Through the stretch, Timmy Skipper, Motoring Abbey. Timmy Skipper.
Okay, now let's look at it. 1-8, 27-60, fourth race triple, 2, 3, and 4, $39.30. That's all of it. Give tonight your best shot. Let's go back to Frank and Nolan and the team. And I guess I'll be back with scores later.
You have a donut.
Okay, thanks.
All right, we will be here. Yeah, you say, no, you bring one in for us.
Okay.
Joe will be back a little bit later as our team coverage will continue in just a little while. He'll have more sports in just a little while. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're getting an awful lot of numbers in here, Nolan, as we continue with our Pennsylvania primary election returns.
Let's start out with the presidential breakdown again right now, because the returns keep coming in now. The tabulation is going up and up. So let's see what we have. Walter Mondale right now, 71% of the vote in statewide. Now has 45% of the vote again, with Gary Hart having 33% at this time. Here are how the other candidates are doing then in the statewide Democratic primaries setup. Jesse Jackson with 19%. Lyndon LaRouche, 14,000 votes. That's all. That measures now at 1%. And so that's the way it is. Let's take a look now, as far as the candidates are concerned, how they are doing in each county, in some of the counties in our viewing area. Up in Bradford County now, 25% of the vote in. Gary Hart ahead, 52% to Mondale's 44%. Also in Bradford County, Jesse Jackson got 3% of the vote. And then the rest of them not showing. That was in Bradford County tonight. Now, if we can have some of the other counties, of course, we can show you in Carbon County coming up next. Mondale was in the lead in Carbon County. You'll see that now coming up on your screen. And no, I guess not. We'll go to Columbia County. All right, 8% of the vote is in Columbia County. Walter Mondale has 48% to Gary Hart's 44%. That's close in Columbia County. And also Jesse Jackson had 7% of the vote in Columbia County. Can we take a look at some of the other counties, perhaps? Well, maybe not. It's kind of difficult now when we're trying to bring. Let's go to Lackawanna County. That we can show you, and I'm sure many of you are interested in what's happening in Lackawanna County. And in the present time, Walter Mondale has 50% of the vote. Gary Hart has 40%. Look not at the percent total for Lackawanna County, but rather the raw vote total, 20,000 to 16,000. Don't forget, Lackawanna County, the home of
of the Mayor McNulty, who openly supported Gary Hart, but yet 50% right now in Lackawanna County for Mondale. Jesse Jackson with 2%, and that's the way it is in Lackawanna County, with all the other ones, of course, not measuring up to less than or more than 1% of the vote. Lyndon LaRouche with 537, McGovern with the same. John Glenn, 309 in Lackawanna County, and Cranston got 273. Some of the people, of course, being very loyal to perhaps some of the people who are pledged to those, very early on, pledged to those presidential candidates who then later came out and pulled out of the presidential race. Let's go to Lehigh County right now for the presidential race. Walter Mondale, 49%. Gary Hart with 36%. Lehigh is completely tabulated tonight. Mondale, 49% to Hart, 36%. Jesse Jackson getting 4% in Lehigh County, and Askew measuring 2% of the vote. And then, of course, the other situations in Lehigh County for those gentlemen who have said they are not candidates, including Mr. Lyndon LaRouche and Robert Greaser. That's it for some of those counties, Lehigh County being the last one that we looked at.
Well, as we mentioned all night, Nolan, there are a lot of state races, and we're going to try and continue to bring you coverage of some of the state races. You also might be interested in the county-by-county breakdown of some of the state races, and we're going to be doing that right now. First, we're going to be going to Attorney General on the Democratic side. Now, let me try and just explain something to you, because in that race for the nomination in the state Attorney General, now on the Republican side, incumbent Leroy Zimmerman is running unopposed, so his name automatically comes up. Also, Consumer Party candidate for Attorney General, Arthur Lieberson, is running unopposed. He is already on the ballot for November. But here is the way the statewide totals are shaping up for that Attorney General nomination, Democratic side. Alan Ertl has now moved into that front position. Now, he's, of course, from Montoursville. He's the Democratic candidate who ran for governor in '82, lost to Dick Thornburg. He's a former three-term congressman from Lycoming County. Statewide now, statewide with 49% of the vote in, he's got 59%. That's 315,000. Robert Colville, who is the Allegheny County District Attorney, a former detective and a Pittsburgh police superintendent, he's got about 214,000. Now, let's take a look at Lycoming County. That's Alan Ertl's home district, and you're going to see how the county voted for these candidates. Alan Ertl took his home county by a big margin with 44% of the vote in. You see there that he is almost by a 10-to-1 margin. He's got 4,300 votes to Robert Colville's 495. You might be interested in how Lackawanna County voted for the Attorney General race. Alan Ertl again almost doubled Colville's numbers. He took 68% of the vote in Lackawanna County, 12,000 to Robert Colville's 5,700 in Lackawanna County. Now, for those of you in Luzerne County, here's how you voted. With 100% of the returns in now in Luzerne County, Alan Ertl, again, by a big margin, the nomination for Attorney General, 24,000 votes to Robert Colville's 7,763, and that's the way the counties break down for that Attorney General race, no?
Okay, let's take a look at the 11th Congressional District right now. That was that tight race that we were telling you about that then, of course, just happened. On the Republican side, it was not a race, and in that one, of course, Robert Hudak will be the Republican nominee in the fall to run. He got 55% of the vote to Sam Daley's 44. These are very early returns that you see now in the 11th District. We had reported to you earlier a lot higher returns. We're not exactly sure why that's showing that way, but we do know that Hudak was way out in front with later returns than that. Let's go over, however, to the 11th District and the Democratic situation. Paul Ganjorski now 75% of the vote in the 11th District, and he leads incumbent Frank Harrison 47% to 41%. The raw vote totals you see there indicating still that Ganjorski with a comfortable lead in the 11th District for U.S. Congress, and it looks as though that's the way it might continue.
Apparently right now, and of course, no concession yet. They're waiting for the outlying areas to come in.
Right.
And of course, we've got crews at the courthouse and in Wilkes-Barre, and we'll be bringing you reports on anything that happens in that close race. But still ahead, our team coverage of the 84 primary vote continues.
And we will have more election results in just about one moment.
Are you just hanging around, wandering with nothing to do? If you can't bear another Saturday night alone, we've found something for you. Take a dash of Stansoa and a splash of Joe's Own. Add some shake, rattle, and roll. Blend the Lone Ranger and Orville Wright. Mix in some Bambi and some Snow White. And you get a great family night. Pennsylvania Outdoor Life, Saturdays at 7.
Okay, we have to bring you up to date on a couple of other things, because there are some prominent political names on the ballot today which we really have not mentioned, and we want to do that. That's because there was no contest in their primaries, and we're going to run briefly through the list of uncontested races so that you can see exactly what that November ballot will look like. Starting in the race for Congress in the 23rd District, incumbent Congressman Bill Klinger was unopposed today. He'll face Democrat Bill Watjob in November.
For state Senate in the 15th District, Republican incumbent John Shoemaker had the ballot all to himself. On the Democratic side, Jane Perkins will be his opponent this fall.
Also in the state Senate race, this time in the 27th District, Republican incumbent Edward Helfrich almost guaranteed re-election this fall. He had no Republican challenger today, and there were no Democrats on the ballot.
Republican incumbent State Senator James Rhodes had no opponent today in the 29th District State Senate race. Neither did Democrat John Williams. They'll face off this fall.
Moving now to some of the state House races. Democrat 76th District incumbent Russell Letterman was the only name on the ballot today and will be the only name on the ballot this fall.
In the 83rd State House District, GOP incumbent Anthony Samini will face Democrat William Hanford in November. Neither had any competition today.
Now, if you just joined us, we're about halfway through a list of uncontested races. No vote totals because, well, these are automatic winners, uncontested. In the 85th State House District, Republican Harold Wagner will face Democrat incumbent John Showers this fall.
In the 107th State House District, Robert Belfanti is the current representative. He had no challenger today, and there was no Republican on the other side of the ballot.
Okay, in the 108th District, State Representative Merle Phillips went unchallenged today, and there's no Democratic candidate on the fall ballot.
In the 113th District, Walter Buckman moved straight to the November general election. He'll face incumbent Democrat Gaynor Cawley. Both were unchallenged today.
State Representative Corey Stevens will be the only name on the fall ballot in the 116th Legislative District.
And in the 117th District, incumbent Republican George Hasse had no opponent today. Neither did Democrat Jack Rudzuilla.
Republican Samuel Daley will face incumbent Democratic Representative Thomas Tighe this fall. By the way, that's the same Samuel Daley who was also on the Republican congressional ballot in the 11th Congressional District today.
Okay, moving over to the 120th District, incumbent Franklin Coslett will be going against Robert DiPietro this fall.
Okay, in the 121st State House District, incumbent Democrat Kevin Blanc will be unopposed.
And in the 122nd, it will be Rainey Barkley, who will be up against Keith McCall this November. McCall is the incumbent.
In the 131st House District, incumbent Roy Alferbach seems to have things sewn up for the fall. He's the only name on the ballot.
And in the 133rd, Harold Mickley will be after incumbent Paul McHale's job this fall.
And finally, in the 135th Legislative District, Eleanor Neal was unchallenged today. Now she moves into the November general election against incumbent Democratic State Representative William Ryback.
Okay, well, that's it for now anyway. That's the long list of today's automatic winners, those races in which both candidates were running unopposed. And we're not giving vote totals, as Frank said, because those races were foregone conclusions.
And that's about all the numbers we have right now, but we have banks of computers that are set up. We've got phone operators, and we're going to be back in just about a half hour. We're going to recap all of the numbers again, and lots are still coming in, Nolan.
And we promised we would also have some more weather for you and an update on some more sports. Joe's getting some scores for you. So in 1/2 hour from now, we will have a complete run-through of all today's vote totals. So for Frank Andrews, I'm Nolan Johannes. You stay there, hopefully, or if you're not joining us then, have a good night, and then we'll see you tomorrow.
Good night, everyone.